Okay, we're live.
Good evening, everyone. If you are live with us, please let us know. Say hi. We have an amazing show for you guys tonight. We are going to be talking all things marketing, and hopefully, you guys will take some good tips back from our guests. But if you're live, let us know that you are watching us by commenting where you are watching us from. And then also, please help share as well so we can make sure that we extend our reach and get as many people as possible watching. So if you're live, say hi. Let us know where you're watching us from. We're just doing our usual. Callie's sharing. I'm going to attempt to share as well. And if you guys are watching, please also share as well. And then, of course, let us know where you're watching us from. We'll get started here in a couple minutes. And I am traveling, so hopefully my Wi-Fi is working okay and you guys are seeing me clear. It's not blurry.
Peachy, I didn't know you were from Kansas. For some reason, I thought you're from California.
Okay. A sec here, we'll get started. Oh, hi, Bingsu. I always laugh at you and your yang mama. All right. How is the weather in Oregon? We got a lot of snow. Well, I did. I don't know about Cali and across the river, but we got a ton of snow the other day. It melted and then it's kind of like raining and snowing again. But I'm actually in New York, and the weather is beautiful here. Oh, thanks, Try. Thank you. I'm glad it's clear because I was a little worried because sometimes when you travel, you just never know if the Wi-Fi is going to connect as fast as you would like it to. So thank you for letting me know. All right, Christian, it looks like Mr. Pong Bang is on supporting you. Thanks, Pong, for tuning in and supporting Christian and Callie and I as well. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Okay. Hi, August from Minnesota.
Thanks, Lisa. So I heard that the dowry has moved up to wasn't it like 50,000 or something? So
Which one? The what?
There's been this I think it's there's been this thing that's been going around the internet saying that Monka Yiseng changed the dowry price. I think it's just
fake. I have not seen it, but that's interesting.
I don't think it's real, but
did they increase it or decrease it?
Increase it to like 50,000, I think, which is why it's and then when you read like the way that it's talking, it's definitely it's very fishy. So and I'm on hotel too, so hopefully my internet won't be too raggedy tonight.
Yeah, 50,000 inflation. Okay. August says that Miranda comment here, but Callie, I'm really into Hmong clothes now, and I was on YouTube and saw your video on storing Hmong clothes and hats. I love the ideas you provided. Yes, those are some awesome ideas. I actually took that idea from you too, Callie, on the just because a lot of times and so Juhu or things like that. But I think just having those like garment bags to put it over and buying the right hangers and having like a complete set helped so much.
Yeah, so, and I think it really helps prevent it from like getting yellow and just like discolored and all the fabrics touching each other. Like I got hat boxes from the Container Store just to kind of store my hats because especially, you know, like to help it keep its shape and stuff too, because yes, it's like these are supposed to be like precious, you know, and then like your parents pull it out of the suitcase and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I know, especially the ones where like they like hand stitch and made it instead of like the machines and things like that, you know. Those are like antiques right there. Like you know, not like the ones where Mika sell and like it's not even authentic, you know. Okay, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first and foremost, I know we've got a lot of new followers. And so if you are one of those, thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to our show. My name is Olivia and I am going to be your co-host tonight.
I am Callie.
And so tonight's show, we are going to be talking pretty much all things about marketing and growth and business. And we have an amazing guest. Some of you may know who he is already, but we are so excited to have him on to just kind of share his knowledge and kind of how he's gone about doing business and helping other business grow, especially in the day and age now where a lot of the things that we're doing, it's like virtual and remote. And so we're excited to have him on. I'm going to pass it over to Callie and have her do an introduction and then we'll get started.
Yep. So we have with us tonight Christian Yang. And so if you are a friend of his and watching, please definitely comment. He can see all the comments too. And so I'm sure he would love to see some love from y'all. But Christian Yang is an entrepreneur and the owner of Pure Growth Media, a social media advertising agency that generated over $4 million in revenue for its clients in 2021. He has helped many Hmong businesses. And he's also helped with many brands in many different industries, including real estate, brick and mortar businesses, restaurants, and so much more. So we are super excited because at the very end, he is also going to do a little website audit for us, which, you know, again, it says a lot of things are so much in the, you know, in the virtual world. And so having that platform, whether that's on social media or on your own website is really critical and crucial. So with that, we're going to bring Christian on.
Hey guys.
Hey Christian, how are you?
I'm doing well. What about you guys?
It is like 10 p.m. where I'm at, so this different time zone is definitely messing it up for me.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining Callie and I. I know you're a pretty busy person, so thank you so much just for kind of coming on and be willing to kind of share your knowledge and you know, talk to our viewers about all this awesome information that I think a lot of people don't know that's available for them, or they take it for granted because, you know, it is so easily accessible, but they are not using it the right way or the strategies and stuff like that. So I'm excited to kind of hear what you have to share with us.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive in and help out in the most ways that I can. So again, appreciate you guys having me on.
And we're definitely going to be stealing some ideas from you as well. So it's kind of beneficial for us as well, because I feel like we kind of work in that social media world. And so like just knowing what's going on and things like that is really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Any way I can help. Again, like you guys, anybody that's watching, that's what I'm here for. That's why, you know, that's what I do, why I do what I do. So, you know, I'm excited to, you know, help out as many people as I can. So excited.
Yeah. All right, Callie, you want to start off and ask the first question?
Sure. So how important is marketing?
I think it's pretty much up there as far as one of the most important things. I think, you know, a lot of people, you know, they focus on sales and things like that, which I think marketing and sales are kind of 1A, 1B when it comes to business. I think both of those things have to kind of play together. I think integrating those two things are important, right? And so sales is super important, but marketing is where you're going to be able to scale your sales to a different level, right? So if you're doing one-on-one sales and things like that, that's great. But how do you get sales when you're asleep? How do you get sales when you're not there all the time, right? And so that's where marketing comes in, and that's where you can reach people, while you're not out there selling. That's where you can grow your brand. That's where you can reach the most people. And I think that's why marketing is super, super important, especially getting your message and vision across, right? To multiple people. I think creating a brand and creating and letting people know about your mission and your vision is super important. I think that's what marketing does.
Yeah, and like I definitely feel like there's so much out there right now that I mean, everything happens like so fast and you have to like stay so on top of it. And there's just a lot of noise too, right? And so it's just like you really do have to figure out like, how do I stand out from other people? And I think when we buy stuff, we really buy it from a feeling. I feel like, like we prefer Apple versus something else because of how
Mhm.
it makes us feel, or we go to like certain places because of the feeling that we get versus like, and like, I mean, because it's like an Italian dish is Italian dish is Italian dish, right? But I think sometimes people have a way of marketing that like really draws you in, or like really makes you feel a certain way that creates that impulse to buy.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think, creating that impulse, creating that feeling behind a brand is where marketing comes in as well. Sales, like I said, like one on one, it's super good. But marketing, how do you get a whole bunch of people to buy into what you're about, to have a feeling about your brand when they see it, when they see your logo, when they see your advertisements? And so I think that is super important, and also the message that comes across. Like, how do you make people resonate with that? And so yeah, I mean, marketing is huge, and I think that's where a lot of people can win, especially when they're not as good at sales as most people. And so I think right now we're, especially with all the digital stuff and like you said, keeping up with stuff. I think we're at a really good time, and I think a lot of people could really take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think with marketing too, like, I don't know if like you work with your clients, but I think for like some people, AKA like Callie and I, when we first started, it was kind of tough with like the marketing piece because
Yeah.
I think just kind of like any new business, it's hard to like decide whether you like want to market yourself and how do you want to market yourself, or whether it's a product, because
Mhm.
it does have to resonate with people. And so I think when you're stuck, it's always so useful to bring someone in who does it for a living to kind of pick your brain and help you develop what that product message should look like. The different types of ads or commercials, or just different ways of reaching people. I think that if you're not an expert in that, um, it's really important to look into someone to kind of help you with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for people is um, really understanding how can they be themselves, but also communicate that in the best way through different platforms, through different mediums. I think a lot of people, they try to keep up with trends, or they try to keep up with who's popular and things like that. But I think like just being yourself and just being your own brand and being your own voice, I think that's the way you stand out. But also translating that into the platforms in a way that people communicate there. So these, we have a bunch of different platforms, especially with the rise of TikTok and things like that.
Mhm.
It's a different way of communicating. It's a different way of content. And so it's like, how do you be yourself? How do you be yourself with that trend? How do you be yourself on that platform, instead of trying to do exactly what everybody else is doing? I think that's where a lot of people get mixed up. And so, like you said, maybe you can hire someone to help you, get a strategy around that. But I think that is the core of it, is just being yourself, but also figuring out how to communicate on that platform in the best way that resonates with who you're trying to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of goes along right into like our next question, and that may be one of like your already top marketing tips. But what are
Sure.
your top 3 marketing tips for
Yeah.
people?
So there's a lot, right? But I think there's a couple core ones, and I like that you guys kind of said three. But I think the biggest ones is really figuring out who your market is. I think a lot of people mess this up because they try to go wide right away. I think at the beginning, you really had to go niche and figure out what is that niche's audience, what is their pain points, right? What are they dealing with every day, and what is your product or your service? What does that solve for them? So listing out all the pain points and listening at how your service helps them. For example, myself, so I do marketing, right? How do I help out businesses that I want to work with? So let's say for real estate agents that I work with, if I'm helping them out, they are, trying to close deals all the time, but they don't really know how to market. They don't really have a type of sales funnel. They don't really have any ways to qualify leads and generate leads. And so that's where I come in to help them do that. And those are some things that they deal with all the time because they don't want to learn marketing. They already have to learn about real estate, keeping up with, the market that we're in and things like that. And so that's where I would come in to be able to help them do that. And that takes away that time, and that takes away all the energy that they have to put towards marketing. And I can come in and help them do that. So really figuring out what the pain points are of your audience and how you can help them achieve their goals. And then I think the next thing is really using that info to figure out a product that helps solve that, right? And that creates creating like a product or service that really solves that problem that they have, as I was saying. And then third, I think, is really figuring out how do you bundle that up so like it's an offer that they really can't say no to, right? I think that's where a lot of people mess up is they try to put something out thinking that everybody likes it, but how do you put out a product or service that they really can't say no to? What type of offer or product can you give them that, they just can't live without? So you have to really think about that. And so I think that's where people kind of mess up is they just kind of put out the services like, hey, I do marketing, but I charge this per month, but I have no results, or I don't know if I'll be able to drive you results and things like that. It's like, well, how can you make it a way where, you drive results first and then you get paid based off your results? Real estate agent will say yes more to that, because then you'll be able to prove that you are your worth to them, and then they can, make sure that they want to keep working with you because you're driving results for them already.
Yeah. Are there like any businesses out there that you feel have followed those 3 tips and have been successful? That you've seen?
I think that's a good question. I think for me, I think there's a lot of the bigger brands that probably really do it well. Like Apple and Nike. I think Apple really figures out, they aren't in the market of figuring out people's problems. They're more like, how do we, help them solve the problems a lot faster. I think a good example would be, that everybody can kind of relate to here is we helped out one of my clients is a U.S. restaurant. And so during the pandemic, they were trying to figure out how can we get people to order more from us. And I think, and also through DoorDash and things like that. And so we had an offer where we were like, okay, well, instead of just having people order like one plate of food and things like that, why don't we bundle everything up so that, they know exactly what they're getting. They are getting a bunch of food for a very good price. And also this market here, there's a lot of Hmong people as well. So, and they want our food. So just having all those things kind of all together just kind of helped them get what they needed. And also a lot of people really responded well to that.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point about like pairing, because I think like a lot of like Apple, even with Apple products, right? Like it comes with like Apple Care for like a year.
Yeah.
Or like when you buy a phone, it's not just the phone; it comes with like a charger, right? And they always try to like give you discounts when it comes to like buying a case with it or buying other things. That just kind of reminds me of like when I go buy a cell phone, like they always want to try to sell you like, oh, if you buy this, you get like the Apple Watch for like $100 off or whatever. So
for sure.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I think another one probably is Amazon. I think Amazon Prime, like they know exactly people don't like shipping costs. They don't like long wait times on getting their stuff. They like quality products. And so, you see millions of reviews on that platform. So obviously Amazon has got that down to the core. So
yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of like like the way that we get the messages for the brand, a lot of that is like working with the marketing agencies. So like one example that I can think of is Wieden+Kennedy, which is up in Portland, and their marketing agency that actually I think was the force behind the Just Do It, which is very recognizable, you know, a very, I think really made Nike well known. And so I think sometimes when we look at, you know, businesses and we feel like we don't want to put out the money, you know, I think sometimes you have to put in some money to make money, right? And so you have to think about your return on investment. So maybe you might be spending $1,000, which might sound like a lot to like a smaller organization, but you have to think about what that means, right? Like, does $1,000 turn to 50,000? Does it turn to 100,000? Does that reach start to grow so your following grows? And so you can't think about it like, you know, like what's in it for me? You have to kind of see that, you know, like the impact of the marketing is, you know, like far reaching, and that sometimes that doesn't turn over right away, but that grows your brand. And in the long run, you know, that also grows your sales. And so I think for a lot of, I would say that the Hmong businesses, recognizing the importance of marketing and investing in that, and being smart about it, because just because you build something again doesn't mean that people will come, right? There's so many other people like you, and so when people buy into you, they're buying into your brand, they're buying into how it makes them feel, and so it's important to think about how that fits in with your business plan and really make sure that you invest in that.
100%. Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Yeah, I think marketing is a long-term game, and I think, you know, a lot of small businesses, it's hard to see that because, you know, you're looking for that quick turnaround because, I mean, honestly, a lot of these small businesses, they need that to be able to survive, you know. And so playing that long-term game of marketing is something that is very hard for a lot of these small businesses to understand, but it is what's going to help them grow. And if they can find a way to be able to have a marketing budget, have some marketing dollars to be able to get out there. And honestly, I don't even think you really need a marketing budget now these days, just in this moment right now, because, you know, there's these platforms that we have for social media. There's Facebook groups, there's TikToks, there's, you know, Instagram and all these type of things. Like there's like a lot of brands that I work with in the past that were like restaurants and things like that, that were really small businesses. What we did is we just found people on Instagram that had a bunch of followers that were local, and we just gave them free food. And we said, hey, come in, take a picture. We'll spot you guys some food. And what that did is these people, they had like 10 to 20 to 30,000 followers, and that just reached everybody locally. And so these businesses, they were able to grow because of just being able to give away some free food. So there's a lot of ways that, you know, marketing you don't really need dollars, but I think a lot of people, it takes time, and they think that you have to pay to be able to market and advertise and things like that. But there's a lot of ways that you can, you know, hack things and be smart about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely think if you have money, like definitely invest. Like I'm big on like staying in your own lane. You know, I think like, you know, like if you're the owner and your strength is in like, you know, the food or like the you know, making like I would say focus all your energy on that, just because you do have big capacity, right? So if you have a little bit extra money, like, and marketing and social media isn't your thing, then I think like spending money on that versus like spending hours like trying to learn something that you don't care about, or don't want to like have to start from like zero and learn. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to agree, right? So I think that's huge. I think obviously play to your strengths, but I think also have a little like idea of what's going on, right? So you're like, well, what's this TikTok thing? Why does that work? Why do people care? At least understand exactly what it is. So when you hire somebody or when you get someone to do it, you know, like, okay, this person, what they're doing actually works, right? There's been a lot of times where people, they hire agencies or people that think they know how to run, you know, do social media marketing, but these people are just like randomly doing things on social media that aren't really, you know, turning into any results. And so just make sure, like, if you're out there and, you know, you feel like, you know, your 15-year-old niece or something like that can help run your social media accounts, that might be true, but just understand, you know, what exactly is going on and how you're going to actually get results from those type of things, and making sure that you're putting energy in all the right places.
Yeah, agree.
So we kind of talked around this, but if you are just starting a business and have a small marketing budget, where should you spend it? What makes the most sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tough because, you know, I think 2-3 years ago, I would have just said Facebook ads straight up. But obviously right now, I don't know if too many people know about this, but, you know, iOS or Apple has made some changes on their advertising. So it's a little bit harder to track with Facebook now, which means that cost on advertising goes up. Because of that, there's other places where you can put your energy and hard-earned dollars. I would say if you have a smart marketing budget, I would probably keep that and try to find some ways to grow organically first to figure out where you want to put your money, right? And also I would say figure out where your audience is. So for me, a lot of my energy is going to be spent on LinkedIn because I'm working with businesses. For somebody that has a product that's selling T-shirts or wherever that might be, Monk clothes, right? You're gonna want to spend your time on TikTok and go Facebook Live and things like that because that's organic, and Facebook groups and stuff like that because that's where your audience is and that's where they're playing and that's where you want to be in front of them at all the time. And so just really figuring out where your audience is, how can you grow there organically first, and then figure out, okay, how can I take what I'm doing organically and scale that with my cash later, right? So I think a lot of people, they kind of like to throw the money at the wall right away. But how can you test first and then figure out, okay, this is actually working, so let's throw some money at it to make it work at a different level.
So how do you grow like when you say grow organically, what does that mean? Are you telling all your friends? Like, are you going and commenting? Are you sharing all your lives? Like, all things that we actually do.
Yeah, it's all that, right? So organically means you don't pay $1 for what you're doing. And so that is, sharing with your friends, sharing in groups, going live, asking them to share, things like that. Anything that you do on, marketing wise that you aren't paying for, that is organic. And I think the best approach is really figuring out what the platform, and also how do they talk on that platform, right? So on Facebook, going live is huge. We're seeing also live going huge on TikTok and Instagram. Like that's coming for them as well. Like that's huge for them as well. But you see TikTok is all video now. And so, and then also understanding how to talk on TikTok as well. Like these short skits or these short videos or jumping on trends, jumping on what's happening at the moment. Those type of things really matter. But that's all organic, right? Figuring out how to communicate on these platforms, figuring out ways to get your organic content shared the most. Hopefully that answers this question. Maybe that was too much, but yeah.
No,
I think that kind of like blends right into the transition of the next question about social media, right? Like you talked a little bit about some of the tactics for Facebook and TikTok, but how can businesses better optimize their use of each of the following social media platforms? Obviously,
Sure.
like you said, it's very tailored. Even Instagram is like different from like TikTok, from Twitter to Facebook. So are there different strategies that people could use to make better use of these platforms?
So I think as far as like your overall like message should be the same, right? But I think understanding, as I think I kind of mentioned this earlier, understanding how to communicate on those platforms is huge, right? So, and also the way, so for example, for myself, when I put out content, I start with, what I work with best, which is I like to write, right? And so I'll post stuff on LinkedIn. And then so long form, like blog type posts on LinkedIn do pretty well, but that gives me like a script. So then if I do a video, then I can go and create a TikTok that pretty much is the same exact thing as my LinkedIn post, but it's in video form now. And then I can post that on Instagram as an Instagram reel. And then I can, and on Facebook, long form text works well too. So then I can take that long form text and then post it on my Facebook page as well. And then also I can create little different images, graphic design images of that same post, and then put it on Instagram. So start with like the thing that you work with best, and then figure out, okay, these platforms, these are like the best ways that these are the type of content that do well on these platforms. How can I take that like as like a pillar, and then just kind of go down and down and down onto different platforms? That's kind of how I look at content. But just like the gist of it is just understanding like what content does best and how and what form of content does best on that platform, and then figuring out what do you do best, what's going to be valuable to your audience, and then putting it in that type of content is going to be huge. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't confuse many people.
No, I think that makes total sense. I just feel like, again, kind of like what Callie was saying earlier, I just feel like it does take so much work, because that's almost like breaking down everything into different ways of how to communicate to people, and then finding the time, especially if you don't have people representing and you want to represent your own company. It's finding time to like record all of that content, right? Because it's not like people think it's easy, but I mean, to some people it is. But I feel like for Callie and I, like sometimes you have to record multiple times to like, and editing too, you know? So it's almost like you have to learn all of these like different tools, especially right? Like if you don't want to hire someone to do it for you, you can hire someone for like the strategy and like doing it. But I think like the recording and the editing, like you have to like schedule yourself some time to do it, and then also like give yourself grace, because it's not going to be perfect for, you know, year even. It takes time to like really perfect your craft.
I think like when you're first starting out small, I would say, you know, figure out what platform your audience is on. Go full in on that, right? I think right now, like to give you a quick answer, like if you're a product or service, if you're a product and you're trying to sell something, and if you're B2C, which is business to customer, right? I think you spend all your time on TikTok right now, because that is blowing up, and so really figuring that out, right? So don't even worry about these other platforms. That if you have stuff on TikTok that you can put on Facebook and Instagram or too as well, you just copy that video and put it on those platforms, and great. But you should really be figuring out TikTok, because that's going to be the next wave. If you're business to business like myself, LinkedIn is huge. And so you should be putting all your energy there. Just, you know, really figure out one platform first, and then kind of, you know, jump onto these other platforms. Like you may miss some opportunity just because you do that, but you focusing on that platform, like you're kind of saying earlier, colleague, like just focusing on what you're good on, focusing on, you know, your strengths and stuff like that is going to be huge. And so just figure out, you know, what platform is your audience on, figure that out, figure out how to talk to them, and just go all in on that. The other stuff, once you start growing because of you focusing on that, then like you said, Olivia, you can start hiring other people to help you out with these other platforms.
That little piece of nugget that you shared about, like, you know, basically taking content and then like putting it into a different format. I think that is really crucial. And that's something that, you know, like I forget to do for us, is like, you know, just like figuring out how we take a piece of content and that we can, you know, depending on the platform, you can transform it to fit that platform. And so maybe we can kind of talk a little about like the nuances of like Facebook versus Instagram versus TikTok versus Twitter, right? Because I always feel like with Instagram, like what I always see are like, because it's pretty much pictures. And so like, you know, like beautiful pictures I know used to do really well. I follow like a lot of bloggers and different businesses. And I know like that, you know, that aesthetic and that feel, you know, and then like you said with TikTok, it's like these quick, you know, like videos. And honestly, I do not know how to do TikTok. I do not know how to capture audience on TikTok. So I'm always fascinated when I see different things that, you know, get lots and lots of view. And then there, you know, I've been on Twitter before, but it's also another place where I feel like very, you know, foreign to me of what that looks like. But maybe you can kind of go, you know, through each one and just tell us like what you feel like works best on there, like what you've seen on there that does not work at all for people.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll start with Facebook, right? So Facebook, I think, has kind of gone on a roller coaster lately, and through its life, because of, you know, it was great, you know, early when it first started organically, right? But then they transitioned to you have to pay to be able to be seen, right? So these pages that have like 100,000 people, they're only gonna, if they post, they're only gonna reach like 1% of that, because they want you to pay to be seen by them, right? Even though they're your own fans. And so Facebook has kind of been funny, but I think this year, currently, right now, I think Facebook groups is huge. And so if you don't have a group, I think you should definitely create one. Like if you're a restaurant, let's say in Minnesota, St. Paul, you should have a group that's all about restaurants in Minnesota. You should own that. You should be inviting other restaurants into that, and you should be advertising through Facebook groups, because in those groups, Facebook wants you to have more connections with people that are relevant to you, and people want to make sure that you're seeing relevant content. And because you're a part of a group, they're going to show that more often. And so, having a group right now in Facebook is huge. So that would be number one. And if you have money to spend on paid ads, then Facebook is still the best advertising platform right now. But if you don't have money, there's a lot of different things you can do right now. And I wouldn't spend any dollars on Facebook until, you have a good marketing budget per month. Moving on to Instagram. Also, I think lives are huge with Facebook. Sorry. Like, I've worked with, we see these Hmong people selling clothes, right? But we're also seeing, like, I've worked with, women boutiques, and they're killing it. Just like they're doing a lot of money per month just by going Facebook Live. So if you have a product or anything like that, make sure you are going live and demonstrating how that product is used and things like that, because that's going to be huge. So Facebook Live and Facebook groups for Facebook. Instagram, I think Instagram's at a weird place right now because they're also making you pay to play as well. But I think collaborating with people that have similar audiences, similar numbers, even bigger numbers is going to be huge. I think also if they have a lower number, but they have a lot of good engagement, just collaborations on that platform is going to be huge. Like going live with them. You can now post together on each other's pages if you guys agree to. So there's a lot of way to collaborate with other influencers and brands on Instagram. So I think that's huge. So I think collaborations is huge. And I think Instagram is really about engagement and relative content as well. And so just making sure that you are playing within the hashtags, reaching out to people that are relative to you guys. Let's say, you guys want to post on Instagram some more. I would, live in the Hmong hashtag and just, comment on everybody's stuff. Obviously that takes a lot of time, right? But the engagement there and just making sure that, you're involved in the community that's on that platform in your niche is going to be huge. So I think that's huge. I think TikTok is huge right now. I think TikTok is all about, figuring out how to provide the most value and keep someone's attention for a good amount of time, right? And I think that's how their algorithm works, is how do you keep someone's attention, even if it's for that 30 seconds, how can you get them to watch for the whole 30 seconds, which is really hard to do. It's to get someone to watch your video for 30 seconds, right? And a lot of people are going like only 7-second videos and things like that, and that helps out their profiles and stuff like that. But you really have to think about how can you provide value within that time frame that people are watching your videos. The longer you get someone to watch your videos, the more your video is going to be shown, and the more that people engage with it, like and comment, that's going to be huge too. And I think the way you do that is figuring out what's trending, how can you provide value within that trend, and how can you again keep people's attention, right? I think that's going to be huge. So everybody thinks it's just about like dancing and things like that, but I've seen people that just paint walls and they're getting millions of views on their TikToks. So because it's just like it's keeping someone's attention because people just want to see them finish that painting of that wall, and it's satisfying for somebody, right? And so just keeping someone's attention is going to be huge for that platform. So that's really something to think about. So if you're like a restaurant or something like that, show them the behind the scenes of like what you're doing, how you're cooking your stuff, how you're baking your cookies and things like that. If you're making or you're packaging your stuff, like show that whole process. Like people want to see all the behind the scenes stuff, and that's going to get people engaged, right? So I think that's huge. Twitter is funny. I think it's pretty hard to grow on that platform, but the way that I've seen it is that it's really a very conversational platform. Mm-hmm. And so I think threads are huge. I don't know if people know what threads are, but it's like someone makes a statement and then they go into why they made a statement, why that's important, right? So someone might say how to grow like $100 million pet brand. And then they'll go into each and every step in the thread under it of how they did that, right? Because you only get 250 characters, so they'll use that 250 characters, explain each step, and then they'll also jump in on trends, so anything that's happening. So figuring out, like right now, I'm a big basketball fan, so if people are talking about the NBA playoffs and they're putting their pins out there, there's a good chance that you'll be seen. If it's something that's like a polarizing statement, meaning something that's different, something that not a lot of people agree with, but has some substance, right? So I think that's huge. And then again, LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is huge. So I think a lot of people just think it's like a resume that you just put up, right? But there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of engagement going on there. And that's a place where you can drive a lot of leads. That's where people are looking to do business with each other. So like I said long form content, like writing out like a short blog post, right? And putting it right into the feed about, what you're about and how you can provide value, or about yourself and your journey. I think that's what I've seen that does the best. And so that's really what does best on LinkedIn. And I think that's huge. So did I miss any platforms? Anything else? No?
No, but
Okay.
I did have a question for you. So obviously with Facebook and Instagram are like, I think Facebook bought over Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so now they have like Facebook Reels, and then there's Instagram Reels, which is kind of like TikTok overall, right? And TikTok so TikTok is really just video, whereas Facebook and Instagram, you can do both. And so do you feel like with the platforms being very similar with its features and functionalities, like, do you think that there still is going to be this like barrier or like difference between the two, where I'm going to just use Callie and I, for example, right? So we are primarily on Facebook.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of following on Instagram or TikTok because we're just not as active, right? And so then when we share, we get mainly our views from Facebook. I mean, videos that we post on Facebook, we would get, thousands. We've got a few in the millions. Whereas if we post on Instagram, it's like barely all right? So do you feel like there is this huge difference, or is it just like, why does one perform well without the, like, I don't know. I guess for me, it's just trying to figure out the algorithm to see if there is really a big difference because they're owned by the same company,
Yeah. So with Facebook and Instagram, I think, to be very frank, I think a lot of Hmong businesses, they are in the same boat. I think the reason why is because I think I had a podcast with my friend Chef Ia. He owns Union Kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. So me and him were talking about how a lot of restaurants, they get reviews on the restaurants and stuff, and if it's good, it's great, and if it's bad, they get slaughtered, right? Mm-hmm. But he has this thing where he calls Black people, they have Black Twitter, and then us Hmong people, we have like Hmong Facebook, right? So it's because our audience is on Facebook, and that's why you guys can do amazing things on these platforms. That's not to say that you can't do it as well on these other platforms, but your results are going to be a lot better on these platforms because that's where your audience is. That's where they spend time. Yeah. But I think with Instagram, I think, I haven't seen too much activity as far as in the Hmong community. And so I think that, that's just something that is going to be kind of what it is. And you can, I think you guys can grow in that, but it's going to take a lot of energy, right? Mm-hmm. But I think what I'm seeing right now, surprisingly, is that on TikTok, there's a huge Hmong community. A lot of these Gen Z kids, they're really, really, really active on these platforms. Mm-hmm. Like you see, like Suni Lee, for example, right? She's killing it on there, and she's interacting with people in the Hmong community on those platforms. And there's other kids that want to be like her, and so they're on these platforms like TikTok, and they're doing pretty well. There's a lot of kids that are doing pretty well on TikTok. And so I think we're seeing that, and I think that will be the way to go. But yeah, I would say Instagram is very tough because it's a very mature platform already. Wow. I think you got to really find out, where the opportunity is. And I think the opportunity is on TikTok. And like I said, the Gen Z kids are killing it on TikTok. So you guys got to figure out how to get them involved.
That's why we're not on TikTok. I tried for like 6 months to kind of like figure out what we want to do. And honestly, it's just so different from like our show that it's just hard to kind of like maintain. And I think one of your tips earlier was like focus on one platform first, grow, and then go somewhere else, right? Sure. I think Callie and I, we've been trying so hard to grow on Facebook that when we try to expand our reach on other platforms, we just don't have the capacity to do it, and we're not making enough money yet to like hire someone to manage those platforms for us, so I love that tip that you gave, and I hope that everyone else who's listening, like if anything, like that should be your takeaway, is like focus on one platform. And if your platform is Facebook like ours, just really plan on growing that, and then you know, hire someone to kind of help you strategize for the other platforms.
Yeah. I will say though, real quick, I think you guys will kill on TikTok, not just because I think you guys are a little bit older, but I think that's some value. That's some value for these kids. Like if you guys are like things I wish I knew in my 20s, like that's a trend, right? On TikTok. Things I wish I knew when I was in high school, like that's a trend on TikTok. And so I think a lot of kids in like that are Gen Z, they'll take a lot from that. So I think
Christian, that would mean like we have to like learn.
Yeah, so definitely. No, Olivia, so yes, our audience definitely be in the lookout for our next video, which will be about things you can know in your 20s. Just kidding. But no, you're yeah, I mean, I find the algorithm so fascinating. I remember when Olivia, do you remember when I did that makeup transformation video? And I think that was I think it got like 20,000 views, and a whole bunch of those were from Vietnam. And I just remember thinking, like, where in the world are these
to our Vietnam viewers? Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And so we got a lot, and then now in our, you know, several recent videos, it's been like everywhere. It's really crazy, and I'm just like fascinated by like how these, I mean, they've definitely been shared, but then also like just the reach of these videos. And so, you know, I think you sometimes have to keep trying, and sometimes you feel like you're doing silly things, but it kind of comes back to like, you know, whatever your core mission and vision is. But you know, I think trying different things, but the algorithm, sometimes you do feel like you put so much work into doing something, and then like there's like zero you know, like 0 views, like my mountain goat video. Please go view that. Like, hello. I'm just kidding. But like sometimes it just takes like different things that you have to try, you know. So I would say test out different things and like don't get discouraged, because I feel like we've taken so much time to work on so many different types of videos, and like got like so little view for all those work, and then we put out like the silliest stuff, right? And then we're like, okay, I guess people like this. So being like flexible and like willing to change as well, because it does change so much.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point, which is really to test as much as you can, right? Like you said, sometimes the silly stuff, like I think of course that's gonna work, right? Because people, that's more entertaining rather than something that's like super serious, right? So there's that, and I think you also brought up a good point, which is at least you guys are looking at your viewers and your insights, right?
Yeah,
I think a lot of people miss that point, which is they just put it out and they're like, well, let's see what happens. But there has to be like a real strategy. Like look at your insights, look at what time is the best time to post, who, you know, who's your audience, right? Like is it like more women, is it more men? That gives you an idea of what to post, right? What the age range, like all that stuff kind of comes into play that help you understand what type of content you should put out and what's going to be valuable to your general viewers. So you brought some good points there.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because we do that all the time. So that means we're doing something right.
Yeah. Dope.
And like I've heard that like people need to see like things like 6 times before they even like have the urge to like, purchase. And so you know, I think that that's one thing that I've seen, is that never feel like you're like, for you might feel like, oh my gosh, I already post that like today, or I post that this week or this month, but like not everybody is seeing your posts. And so when you post, like just know that like, you know, like think about the frequency. And so of course, like not every post you want to like be doing the same style, you know. So like I know when I was like, I did a lot of testing when I was like getting into social media, and just like looking at like my personal posts, right? Of like, you know, sometimes it's a picture, sometimes it's like poem, sometimes it's like this or that. And so I feel like recognizing that, you know, like again, like just because you post it out there that one time, that one day, doesn't mean that like everyone's going to see it. And so thinking about like the frequency and making sure that you repackage that message if you feel like you're just being like monotonous. And so repackaging what that message is saying and presenting it in a different way, but making sure that you do kind of like almost repeat it sometimes in different ways.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that 6 to 7 range is kind of a rule of thumb in the marketing world. And it's something that, you know, we always try to do, keeping that frequency up. And I think that's where, you know, advertising kind of helps come into play as well, because with these platforms, you can now like retarget people that have, let's say they watch this video, right? Let's say someone watched like 25% of this video. What you can do with Facebook ads is you can retarget everybody that has watched this video for 25% of this video, and you can retarget them with something new or your next episode. Let's say you have a next episode, right? You could be like, hey, this is coming up, retarget that 25% of people that have watched that video, and then that will give them that frequency, right? Sorry, I'm kind of nerding out here, but yeah, those are some of the things that you can do, right? So yeah, I think retargeting and keeping that frequency up is huge. So it's a good point to bring up for sure.
Speaking of like Facebook ads, I do want to ask you this question because I feel like I don't know, maybe a lot of Hmong businesses don't use Facebook ads. I know Callie and I know that we don't. A lot of our growth has been organic.
Yeah.
But what do you think about Facebook ads? Do you feel like they haven't done justice for some of your clients they've grown tremendously or have gotten a lot of sales from Facebook ads?
Yeah. So on the daily, I like live and breathe Facebook ads, to be honest with you guys. So I've helped brands grow from they're making about so a client, for example, was making I believe it was around like 100 to 150,000. So but that was all organic, right? They were just selling stuff online. And so once they wanted to put in ads, what happened was that next month they had their highest month in revenue ever. Wow. because of what Kylie brought up earlier, which is you can now they are now retargeting people that have heard of the brand, that's following their page, that's part of their email list, that has watched their videos, that has engaged with their content. And so now you're not losing all these people that are already part of your audience. You can now retarget them with a new ad, let's say with like a discount code. So let's say someone doesn't buy the first time they see you, you can retarget them with like a 10, 25% off code, and they'll more than likely purchase, right? And so we've seen people, have like their highest months ever, and after like 6 months, they'll like double the revenue per month. And so it's super huge. It's super game changing. We're seeing a lot of these crazy brands. I don't know if you guys know who Gymshark is. They basically, use these platforms to the full extent. That's one of the biggest platforms. It's run by a guy that's like younger than me, and he, his brand's a $1 billion brand just because he's been using Facebook ads, Instagram influencers, and things like that. So if you have a budget, I would say, try to play around with it. Even if you have like $50 or $100, just play around with it and, get used to watch some YouTube videos, spend like 2-3 hours on a weekend and just really figure, the basics, right? You don't have to get all technical, but it's just the basics about how to, spend that in the most efficient way, and then really test that out. It really will change your business if you really figure it out.
Yeah.
Such good information. I just love talking about social media and marketing. It's really fascinating. So this last bit, we wanted to have you do like a website audit of our page. And so I know that this isn't a full extensive normal typical audit of a website, but some pointers people who are watching can also maybe be able to apply that to their own website, or just take a look at your website and see where you might improve.
Okay, cool. One sec here.
Okay, I'm gonna add it to the screen. Okay.
Cool. So this is your guys' website. I like it. I think it's very pretty. I think it looks great, right? Off first bat of, it's very eye-catching, I would say. And I love that it's like very in flow. So it's not like everything's everywhere. It's kind of like just a straight path down, right? So I think that's dope. I like the social proof, meaning like the reviews here. I think that's great. High quality images, which are great. So I think that's awesome. While I'm loading this up, can you guys give me a good idea of kind of what your guys' goal is with your website? So that might be getting more viewers. That might be, explaining more about what you guys are about. That might be getting donations, people shopping. What do you guys, what is your guys' main goal with the website?
Do you want to go first, Olivia?
I mean, you can add on to. I think really it just is, it's kind of like credibility almost when we first started the website, right? Because we're doing this talk show on Facebook. And I think like if we wanted to reach out to businesses for collaboration, or I think just anything, like it provides us some credibility that we are who we say we are, and we're actually serious about putting on a talk show to support our people and entertaining our Hmong community, things of that nature. And then we started getting into the second piece is creating merchandise for us, a way of generating income.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like that hasn't really done a lot for us because we haven't really put our time and energy and focus into it. Honestly, that's the reason why. Like the things that we do, we don't drive it back to our website for the shop, but we also have not focused a lot on our shop either. So I don't know, Callie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when we first started it, it was really for credibility and nothing else. And we are starting to kind of build from that.
Yeah, and I definitely wanted to like have us use it as like a sponsor space too. Like if we had enough, like traffic and things like that. But yeah, I think with capacity for us, it's really been like, pushing content, then, focusing on Facebook and different avenues. And so I think like figuring out how we get people to be, to come to our website. Cause, like with Facebook and with any of these platforms, anything can change, right? Somebody could pull one plug and things kind of go away, or feel different or look different. But we wanted our our website to be kind of that home base where people can go, where we can communicate directly with them. But of course, what we have found.
So.
Oh, there she comes back. Maybe.
Just me.
There you go. You're back. Or not.
Okay. Am I back?
You're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so like when we did we did a test for finding love, because we were putting videos onto Facebook, and then we decided we're gonna move over to YouTube, and so we did that, and then we found out that like that actually lower views, and our people were living on Facebook, right? And I think that we definitely have kind of changed our view on how the site well, but again, kind of those. One of those things where, I think we're really focusing on Facebook and have these other places where we live, but don't go there a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So I think what I'm hearing is, this is a great place for people to learn more about your guys' about you guys and what you guys have to offer and your value that you guys bring, right? I also think that it's another way for, sponsors to be able to find out more about you guys in case they want to advertise with you guys. And then I think third is, you guys have your shop, which could potentially generate revenue for you guys as well. So with all those things combined, I would say, this website looks great, but if let's say I want to advertise with you guys, there's not really a place to do that, right? I think you can go to contact us, but I think that, having a thing that says like you want to advertise on the shows or advertise with us, I think that's huge. And I think that this front page could be that in some way. And so I think whenever I work with a client or something like that, my goal is figure out what is their goal is, what's going to be, the thing that's going to keep your business alive, and how do we emphasize that? And obviously in a great way, right? Where someone can really feel like they can buy in to what you guys have to offer. And then at the end of it, they want to work with you, or they want to purchase your product, and they find value in that. So it's kind of like the customer journey of like bringing them down. It's like, okay, well, I definitely want to advertise with you guys because this is definitely the audience that I want to work with. And so that brings to my next point, which is I think having your numbers here. I think you guys have amazing numbers across the board. And so having like your views, I mean, I know you guys definitely have more than like millions of views across all your videos and things like that. So just sharing that with people, and then also sharing like, let's say an advertiser wants to reach out to more females. I'm sure you guys have more females that watch the show. So sharing that with them as well. And also I think, sharing, how an advertisement might look like with you guys. Let's say, you guys do like a live read, or you guys have their sponsor within, these talks and things like that. And so I think just figuring out what you guys' goal is and just kind of tailoring your website to that. And in the marketing terms, we call that like a landing page. So this is all great, but where are we going to send advertisers, and how can we create like a story for them to want to advertise with you that makes it so like they feel like, this is a great opportunity for them. So I think that that's huge. Last thing is, I think having some tracking. So I have this thing here, which is like a Facebook pixel. You guys probably don't know what that is. Facebook pixel is, you can track people's data, right? So Apple came out with a thing where they kind of blocked this. So I'm sure you guys have seen on your phone, which is, allow the app to track, right? So Apple has blocked that, but there's still some ways to work around that. And that's what this does here. So when you see an ad, this allows someone like myself to take that data and then send you a new ad. So let's say I came here and I looked at your episodes. You guys could go into here on the Facebook pixel and see, okay, Christian visited episodes tab. So let me retarget him with our new episode that's coming up this week on Facebook with a new ad. Does that make sense?
We have so our person that does our website sends us like a report that shows some data, but maybe not to that. I guess like not to that extent. Like they'll it shows us like we're just, I guess, like the typical insight that you get for tracking your website. But I don't know if there's like more
so that's good too.
That we can get.
Yeah, that's definitely great, right? You definitely want that as well to see, who's visiting your website, what pages are visiting, and things like that. You definitely want all that reporting as well. You can also add in Google Analytics. That's really nice to have as well to see, the customer journeys on your page. But that Facebook pixel, let's say one day you guys want to advertise, that's going to be huge for you guys, and that because it tracks all that data for you to utilize and help, grow your brand. Honestly, yeah. I mean, if you guys had that, you could target all your video viewers and just send them an ad of all your products here, and there's a good chance that they might buy if they're a diehard fan. So
yeah, thank you for that. That was like a lot, like just like when you were even saying like our numbers. I mean, I think we've just been like most recently like excited about numbers, but yes, we definitely need I think like push that out more so that people knows in our content. And then even that simple, I mean, it sounds so simple, but like we needed to hear from you. So
I try to make it as simple as possible. It's tough because, I have to do it on a daily basis. Sometimes I work with older people. So it's tough to kind of explain it where I'm like talking to I try to explain it like I'm talking to like a third grader or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely tough because, these are all these new terms and things like that. So, but hopefully I was able to, get you guys to understand a little bit, and hopefully your viewers as well.
Yeah. I think you thought of a really good thing about like us incorporating our data of just like our reach, our views, how many of our viewers are like male versus female. I think just having that kind of information. I think we have like a media kit that has all of that information, and if we request for it, then we send it to them. But for people who are like not Hmong, who may go into our webpage and look at our information, we want to make sure that it's available to them, and they can kind of view it at their leisure and then reach out if that's something that they are interested in, for ad space. So that's a really good call out. I think we will definitely take that back and try to incorporate it.
I think that's huge. I think that's a big point that you brought up. I think, I think a lot of us like to advertise to our Hmong community, which is great, right? If we can support each other, but I think there's a lot of other cash out there for us to dive into. And I think, let's say, there is a big brand, let's say like Target is headquartered out here in Minnesota, right? I'm pretty sure they want to reach out to the 60 to 80,000 Hmong people out here in Minnesota. And if, you guys have, a little bit of that, I'm pretty sure they would be open to that if, you guys could provide them valuable numbers that they would, that would make sense to them, right? So I think, you guys are artists that are looking for sponsors and stuff like that. And I think that's something that we really need to tap into for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for auditing our website. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. You guys can, outside of this or whatever, if you guys ever have any questions, please let me know. I'm all ears.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So if people want to get in contact with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can add me on Facebook. I think I'm the only Christian Komong Yang out there. I try to include my middle name. So it's like distinguishing for me, right? And then my website is pure-growth.com. Otherwise, you guys can add me on LinkedIn. Just Christian Yang on LinkedIn. If you guys want to connect that way as well. So those are probably the best ways to reach out to me.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on with us tonight and sharing your expertise and your experience with us of, just talking about marketing and then the different social media platforms. If you are a business and want to get in touch with Christian, he just spoke about his contacts, but, definitely look into how you can expand and look more into marketing. It's great to, grow your business and find ways to just tailor it to your audience. And so thank you for being with us. Of course, here at All That Talk, we believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. Talk to you later. Bye.
See you guys.